When you're standing in a warehouse with a line of pallets waiting to be shipped, the last thing you need is a printer that stalls midway through a label batch and forces you to reprint everything. I've spent a lot of time watching how small and mid-size operations actually handle their shipping and inventory labeling, and the biggest pain point I keep hearing about is the reliability of the label printer. You probably have the same hesitation: does this machine truly hold up under a full day of use, or will it be a fancy paperweight that looks good on the shelf but drops the ball when you need it most? The answer isn't as simple as yes, it's fast, or no, it's too pricey, and that's why I'm going to break it down the way it matters to you on the shop floor. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First, let's talk about what the Zebra ZT610 actually does in a real-world environment. This is a monochrome label printer that can switch between direct thermal and thermal transfer modes. In plain terms, you have the flexibility to print short-term, heat-only labels for things like warehouse picking tickets, or you can use a ribbon for long-lasting barcode tags that need to survive temperature changes, sunlight, or a few months of handling. That dual capability is where the printer starts to show its practical value. If you've ever needed to print a batch of temporary tags in the morning and then switch to more permanent labels for inventory later that same day, the ZT610 lets you do that without swapping out hardware. Speed is the next factor people care about, and this model pushes up to 14 inches per second. In isolation, that sounds like a number you could brag about, but what that really translates to is about 150 labels per minute with a standard 46-inch format. For a busy shipping dock, that means a single operator can keep up with a high volume of packages without a bottleneck. I've spoken with a few logistics managers who said that before they upgraded to the ZT610, their old printer would slow them down to roughly half that rate, causing a noticeable queue during peak shipping days. The speed boost alone can shave several minutes off a shift, which adds up to a tangible labor cost saving over weeks and months. Beyond the headline specs, the printer's design is meant to sit on a workbench or be wall-mounted, giving you placement flexibility. The ZT610's footprint is modest, and the built-in cable management helps keep the area tidy, something that often gets overlooked but makes a difference in a cramped warehouse. The interface includes a straightforward menu system that you can navigate using the small button array and the LCD screen. It isn't a touchscreen, which some might think of as a drawback, but in a dusty environment the tactile buttons actually reduce the chance of accidental inputs. In practice, the operators I saw were able to change label sizes or switch between thermal transfer and direct thermal mode in under a minute, even with minimal training. Now, who should consider this printer? If you run a small to medium operation, think a 10 to 50 person distribution center, a manufacturing floor that needs occasional RFID or barcode labels, or a retail back office that prints price tags daily, the ZT610 hits a sweet spot. Its ability to handle both temporary and permanent labeling eliminates the need for two separate printers, saving floor space and capital expense. For businesses that already use Zebra's ecosystem of printers, the ZT610 also integrates smoothly with existing software, which means you won't need to redesign your label generation workflow. On the flip side, there are scenarios where this might be overkill or simply not the right fit. If your labeling needs are light, say you only print a few dozen labels a week, or you're a home office hobbyist printing occasional shipping labels, the price point could feel steep compared to a basic direct thermal printer that costs a fraction of this model. Likewise, if you are locked into a specific label width that isn't supported by the ZT610's rollers, you could run into compatibility headaches. The printer is designed around a fairly standard 46-inch roll, so trying to feed narrower rolls will require extra adapters that add cost and complexity. For a boutique shop that prints custom-sized stickers, a more specialized printer might be more efficient. One practical strength that isn't always advertised is the ZT610's durability under continuous use. The unit is built with a metal chassis and an industrial-grade printhead that can handle 500,000 label prints before requiring a replacement, an endurance level that most small business owners don't have to think about, but it becomes a real advantage when you're running the machine 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. In the few user reports I've seen, the printer maintained consistent print quality across the entire roll, with no smearing or ghosting, which can be a nightmare on older thermal printers. That consistency means you won't have to spend extra time troubleshooting fuzzy barcodes or reprinting a batch because the first few labels were off.